Okay, so today, no, shut up. I'm in the mood for something different. I'm in the mood for something different, so I'm doing something different. If that's gonna be a problem, then go to HR or something. We got plenty of Silk Song to go through, I just wanna have some fun for a bit. Okay, alright, so Hades 2, the only game with a tarot card-based upgrade system that's actually interesting. Obligatory, no tier list is accurate ever. I think people know that. I'm not gonna treat you like a 12-year-old. You know what a tier list is. Okay, let's go. Number 25, The Unseen. Easiest decision of my life. You see, it's unseen because no one's ever looking at it. Rendered pointless by one good regen boon from any god, and also a shitty regen boon from any god. It might be a nice cushion for the early game simply because the fear of running out of magic in a fight is much stronger when your gauge can't climb above 50, and you don't snap pick regen boons, and you always whiff your omegas, but there are so many different boons and resources the game gives you that finding a magic regen boon, like literally any of them, like Ordinary Will, Born Gain, Ionic Gain, almost always the more efficient play, even if it does usually have like some weird condition attached to it. Aphrodite's regen boon is probably better than this. I said that as a joke, but after checking the numbers, yeah, they're the exact fucking same. They share the same upgrade progression from common to heroic, going from 6 regen per second to 12. So, there you go. Just pick Glamour Gain, I guess. If not having consistent regen really bothers you that much, go test drive the Circe staff for a couple nights. That shit will change your life. The little impact it has is lost immediately as soon as you start upgrading the other cards and realize how deep your magic pool can actually get with Persistence and Centaur, or certain keepstakes, or just not firing 30 magic into a wall like a fucking amoeboid. I don't know what anyone else's list is looking like, but it's gonna be a while until we get to the Huntress. I'm just saying that right now. The damage boost is the second best of all the Arcanas with only 2 cost, but matching it with Unseen will actively rub against that card for the whole night, and not in like a sensual way. I mean like friction. This is obviously to be expected with any regen boon, thus being the point of regen boons, but it's a chore to maintain. It only helps for like the first 2 chambers until you get an actual regen boon, and having this be a 5 cost could legally be considered price gouging. Like, just take the dog with you, man. Fuck's sake. Jesus Christ. Number 24, the Moon. I really don't know what to tell you on this. If you aren't consistently using Omega powers, you just should. I don't even think I need to explain why, but you just should. So many weapon aspects have their hottest DPS specifically tied to their Omegas, and weapons like the torches and staff almost completely depend on them. As useful as it sounds to have your 1 fuckatillion damage moon nuke on a timed cooldown, a regenerating hex only really benefits you if you've wound up with a build that doesn't encourage the use of Omegas, which is almost none of them. Like, literally just about none of them. The general rule of thumb is just use your Omegas. Almost every hex fills up incredibly quickly just by itself when you're just strengthening up the magic bar, making that shit big PP, and then hunting for those boons that give you a better basic attack or something for like 10 extra magic or whatever. Like, there are like tons of those. Look, point is, just use your Omegas, fart through magic as quickly as you can, you'll get the hex back quickly enough, okay? Like, I promise. You really don't, like, you really do not need this. Like, I'm serious. Especially when it needs either Eternity, Unseen, or Night to be activated in tandem. And the only one that would actually help this one out enough for me to consider it would be Unseen. And, no. No is my answer to that. Like, why isn't this next to Sorceress or something? Like, that would have been massive. Number 23, Judgment. I love this card, and I hate this card quite a lot on both fronts. I love the prospect of taking all the responsibility and decision-making power of finding a good build and just shoving it onto the game, like, here you go, bozo, you do it for me. But I find it really hard to work with, not because it doesn't pay off, but specifically because it does in a way that's usually just uncomfortable. Limiting yourself to 3 Arcanas takes away all of your flexibility and essentially limits you to only 1 or 2 builds you can for sure take advantage of, and let's be honest, that's gonna look really similar between most players. Sorceress, Death, Origination. You might trade Death for Strength, or like Sorceress for Messengers, but most of you are gonna have at least 2 of these. So what happens if you get all the way to the 3rd boss without a really important card being activated? You know, like what if Centaur doesn't get activated until you reach Tartarus? Like, that's a wasted card. The game could just decide to give you the reroll Arcana after you've gotten stuck with a build you weren't initially comfortable with, but forced it to work. Cards that need certain Arcana setups like Divinity could get thrown up early, I guess. But guess what that comes at the price of? Not being able to have those cards at the jump, because you can only have 3 of them. I don't know, brother. Like, you have 30 Grasp. Why the hell wouldn't you just use it? Number 22, Eternity. Pop quiz, chalk chewers. Without looking it up, what is the function of the Eternity Arcana? Tell me what the fuck, tell me what it does right now. I had to open up a wiki just to remember what this shit even does, and I think that proves beyond any doubt that I'm only activating it to clear the top row for an easy divinity. I'm choosing it because it's there, and it conveniently throws in Moon with its activation without my consent. I don't care about it. Slowing down your surroundings is not always the best play. In fact, I've learned from experience that slowing down projectiles opens a window for you to potentially get hit twice by the same shit if you're not paying attention to your positioning. It can also wrench up your timings for certain Omega moves that require a bit more precision, like the Staff and Dagger Omegas. Your movement is so fluid that when I do have it on, I don't even notice its effects half the time anyway. Like, this isn't just a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword without a grip or a hilt. You don't even know why you're going for this one. You just know you'll never take off the 3 Arcana to the left of it, so you might as well just take your free 20% epic chance. It's just, I'm gonna be honest, please stop using top row for Divinity. Alright, just stop it. If you want it that badly, either go middle row for Death and Origination, or take the middle column for Strength, Messenger, and Huntress. The top row is a scam, okay? Don't use it. Number 21, the Artificer. I just feel like if I ever have this slotted in, it's because the rest of that middle column is coincidentally lit up along with it so I can snag Divinity. Like, wow, I can get my desired build slightly quicker than what I probably would have without it? Or maybe I can get like 30 more magic or something, because it'll spawn like one of the cantinas or some shit. I don't know, like I'll take a free nectar bottle if you give it to me, shit. If you're just blindly passing on all of those smaller resources, I'm going to hedge a bet here that you're probably pretty far into the game. Like, you're at the point where you're schizophrenically flipping vows on and off like you're about to stress test a GPU. If you're this far in, you definitely already have access to fully upgraded keepsakes, Arcana. Maybe you're starting to figure out boon pool manipulation with the Enchantress and shit like that. Like, you have a game plan. What I'm trying to say is you're not using this anywhere outside of Erebus, is the point. Like, how many players would realistically choose this over something like Lovers or Enchantress or shit, even 2-cost cards like Persistence or Huntress? Number 20, Excellence. When selecting a boon, each of those 3 you select from have a 50% chance to be a blue tier boon. You know, versus the 100% chance you receive by rubbing up against somebody's shiny divine ass enough and then wearing the little Christmas ornament they give you and then changing the rarity yourself. Having your rare and epic boons be controlled by the keepsakes you're swapping out per area gives you a much more deliberate approach to what boons you're selecting. And even then, that's only kind of important for core boons anyways. If you're actually taking the effort to fish for very specific legendary boons, I think using the bottom left section to properly dial that in is just flat out necessary if you're gonna run this. You could reliably pull whatever legendary you're looking for with this setup within the first 2 areas, I would say, but like, think about all the space that needs to be sacrificed for this. Like, are you really going to invest 17 grasp into this loadout because of one fucking boon? Also, the power of a lot of non-core boons lie in the utilities themselves. Just learn how to read a little bit. Just because it ain't a blue, don't mean you don't want it. Learn to fight that monkey brain reflex that immediately gets depressed if it doesn't see at least 2 different colors to choose from. If I find Born Gain on the very first Hera boon, then having it be a blue or a purple on top of that would be very nice, but I'm not just gonna pick something else if the rarity isn't high enough. Like, what the fuck? It's Born Gain, just take it. Number 19, the Queen. Okay, so the Queen is not a mainstay, and I've only ever landed on it by complete accident, but I do think this card is very wrongfully criticized for errors and missteps that it can't really account for. It's a 0-cost card that can only be activated conditionally through certain Arcana setups, so if you accidentally land on it, then I wouldn't start rearranging all your shit just to get rid of it or anything. Like, if you're comfortable with what you have, just leave it as is. But you also need to have a game plan on which duo boons you're going to be shooting for. Otherwise, none of this is going to be worth anything. Duo boons are a bit more complicated than people think. It's almost never enough to just have one boon from 2 certain gods. Like, it's usually really specific. Most duo boons can only be added to the pool once a very particular list of boons have been acquired. And so if you're fishing for duo boons, it's incredibly important to make sure you're nailing all the prereqs first. Let's take a look at Sun Worshipper. Sun Worshipper needs at least 2 of these bottom 3 core boons to be occupied by Hera and Apollo. So you can shoot for Heracast and Apollo Regen, Hera Regen and Apollo Dash, so on and so forth. Both gods need to be somewhere in your bottom 3 for Sun Worshipper to appear. Other duos like Beach Ball need 3 specific boons. Your Dash boon needs to be from either Apollo or Poseidon, and you also need 1 other core boon from each of them on top of that. If you have just Apollo cores and a Poseidon non-core, it ain't gonna work. If you have Apollo Dash and 2 Poseidon cores, it ain't gonna work. You specifically need 1 core boon from each each god in addition to the dash. Then Beach Ball gets added to the pool. If you're using keepsakes and reroll Arcana to nail all the boon prereqs as early as you can, then you're probably going to run into the duo you want anyways. But Queen is meant to speed up the process so you don't have to worry about potentially locking yourself out of it. This process is not straightforward at all, which is why it leads to a lot of unfair criticism like, most useless card in the game, 10% chance is fucking pathetic. I don't even think this card works. Like, yeah, you fucked up. That's why it's not working. Number 18, Knight. Thanatos Axe. Use it with Thanatos Axe. If you ain't using Thanatos Axe, then you ain't using the Knight card. I'm pretty sure no other weapon aspect can affect a build's crit rate in such a significant way. Plenty of boons, weapon aspects, and even other Arcanas can give your Omegas so much more dependable damage instead of having to rely on a minuscule percentage chance that only kinda helps out the Torch special. And the daggers. And the Omega attack on the axe. Okay, so on a couple builds I could see it being useful, but it's still like a conditional pick on the best of days. Number 17, Lovers. Are you struggling against Kronos or Typhon? Cool, put this on and enjoy your free 100 or so HP. Are you struggling with any other boss in the game? Yes? Then spike that shit straight in the trash and spit on it, and then dump all of last week's trash on top of it for good measure. Lovers is a wonderful utility on paper. 3 extra hits, I mean, sure, you wouldn't say no to that. But most bosses have a couple bullet hell attacks hidden in their pocket somewhere. Like Skillless Keytarist can just shred through it, literally. Catch a few strays from Polyphemus ads and the barrier's just gone. Charybdis doesn't give a shit. Even Hecate's weak ass can chew it up pretty quickly if you're caught in a weird position. I think people look at 3 free hits and assume that they're going to be able to control what exactly is doing the damage to them in that given moment. And if you're that confident in your ability to control whether or not you're getting hit, well, then you're probably just not going to get hit in the first place. However, on higher fear runs where everything does fuck you Baltimore damage, Lovers becomes a pretty ubiquitous pick just because you're always one positioning mistake away from getting Tekken comboed back to your bedroom. If you're maxing out the Vow of Pain, not even fully upgraded strength is gonna completely mitigate it. Limiting your invulnerability to the first 3 hits you take is what drowns this Arcana's utility. You could face tank 3 Typhon attacks that equal to around 300 extra HP, or you could trip over your infernal shoelaces 3 times on the way in and flush the barrier before anything significant even happens. Number 16, Divinity. 15% chance for an epic boon. Righteous. I already explained why there's no reason you shouldn't have either middle row or middle column filled out because that's your best way to steer clear of any stinkers, so even if you don't like this card too much, there's a good chance you accidentally wound up with it anyways. But when I'm loading out with a fully upgraded keepsake and I have a plan to hunt for very specific core boons, the increased epic chance means opening a larger window to take said boons to heroic tier, and landing on a heroic tier boon in the first like 2 chambers feels very, very nice. It is very comfortable. Divinity is used to take advantage of gods you have better relationships with, whereas Excellence sorta just prevents you from getting a common boon half the time. But the most notable difference between this and Excellence is that Divinity is a 0-cost card, meaning it can be activated automatically with certain card setups instead of being shaken down behind the Applebee's for 5 grasp, especially with Boatman and Origination in the pool. If you want to clear the top row and just not think about anything else, then I mean that's fine. I understand why it's comfortable. 7 cost for an entire row of benefits is a pretty low expense. I just think most Arcana in the middle row and column end up being something you're going to want anyways, and so why not just build your foundation there instead? Number 15, the Fates. If I have enough grasp, Champions and Boatman will likely end up being on me at most points anyways, but I don't know how I feel about dedicating an entire run to just dice rolls and coin flips and whatnot. I get that the game rewards very deliberate approaches to build making, and cards like Fates are certainly gonna help you do that, but using the entire setup needs a grand total of 12 grasp. It requires commitment to a fault, and almost half my max grasp is not an easy commitment, even if I'm trying to be funny. I also feel like this can just lead down a road of players getting attached to certain builds that might not be as effective as they think they are, and you might just get more benefit from being a bit more deliberate with your Arcana setup than just thumbing through boon pools like a fucking Christmas catalog. Because the thing with the dice reroll Arcana is that yes, you are playing a significantly different game than you would be without them, but even by themselves, all 3 of the surrounding Arcana are still very strong contenders that pull a fuckload of weight. Enchantress is good for Ephira for building build manipulation, use Boatman for a free Karen shop, or maybe if you want to dick around with some paid due shenanigans, and I pretty much just always have champions on anyways. I guess I would rather have 4 extra dice than not have them, but I don't know. I mean, Hades isn't one of those games where half your runs get molested by bad RNG or anything. This isn't fucking Night Rain. Like, just take what they give you. You'll be fine. There's being deliberate, and then there's just being stubborn. Number 14, the Swift Runner. Sprint speed increases by 10%, and you get to run through enemies. I'm gonna be honest, who gives a shit? Remember when it actually affected the speed of your initial dash and got rid of that awkward 9-frame delay in early access? You know, the thing that made this good? And then they decided to just get rid of the dash delay altogether, which I'm completely fine with. I mean, that delay kind of sucked balls, but at least it gave Swift Runner a greater purpose than just basic convenience. And I feel like that's what it's been demoted to. Becoming intangible isn't going to make me sprint more. If I'm running through shit, it's because I got a really good boon that kills lots of shit when I run through it. I'm not in a hurry to cross the morning fields. I don't want to see Malinois drifting around corners in the sewers like Fast and fucking Furious, and until it's further necessitated, I just don't think this card's going to be useful for much else except convenience, especially when the base sprinting speed ended up being fast enough in my opinion, and there are boons that contribute to that too. So if I'm using that as an excuse to shit on Unseen, then I'm only being consistent. Like, that's just how it works. That's how I work. Having the dash delay and then having this card remove it gave it purpose, but now that it no longer matters, I'm never prioritizing it. Number 13, the Messenger. Brother, I'm gonna be real, I didn't even fucking write anything down for this one. So I like Messenger for a lot of uncommon reasons I've learned. Obviously, the first benefit that catches most people's attention is the invulnerability during casting, and the timing window is, hang on, it's in here somewhere, I think. Bitch, fuck you mean no results for Messenger? How's it called then? Base, bonus, something. Okay, is this it? Hang on. Okay, I'm just gonna do this later. Well, you shouldn't be using Messenger for the invulnerability, is my point. It's an incredibly precise window of time, if it even works. The reason I like Messenger is because it's the first domino in a chain of incredibly good decisions, since you can just use that with Huntress and Centaur to sweep up the middle column, which then activates Divinity. And the bonus movement speed you get when casting it's like outrageously good. And yes, dodging in this game is obviously very important, but I think knowing good positioning is equally, if not more important. And a 70% speed boost means if you want to be somewhere, then that's just where you're at now. You're there. No A to B, there's just A, bitch, you're here. You did it. Getting into a good position fast likely means your next Omega is gonna put in some work. I'm gonna say something batshit insane here, but if you're nailing down a good Omega cast build, I think Messenger is just as necessary as Sorceress. Sorceress makes channeling quicker, whereas Messenger makes you quicker when you're channeling. At least this is the case for Omega casts. Omega casting is so much more comfortable with this on because you really feel that 70% speed boost. Like, brother, you get the fuck out of there. If you've never been able to get behind Omega casting because channeling makes you feel like an easy target, run that shit back with Messenger. I promise it's gonna change your life. It's good. I like it. I think Swift Runner causes a lot of people to overlook it, and that makes me sad. Number 12, the Centaur. Holy fuck, it is giving me whiplash seeing the Centaur so low on here, but like every one of these after it are they're just good. Like, they're just good. We'll get there, just give it a minute. Every 5 chambers will give you 5 extra health and magic to spend. So depending on how you handle Tartarus, there's going to be around 40-ish chambers in the underworld on a complete run. It's easy to set up, and if you wind up with a build that activates Centaur and doesn't involve persistence, I wouldn't start switching things up just to get rid of it unless I'm just bored. But 40 HP and magic out of the gate for 2 grasp is you're not beating that. Like, you're just not. Shit can go wrong every now and then. You can get caught out of position because some enemies spawned in an awkward location you didn't expect. Maybe Polyphemus and a bitch from Hocus Pocus or whatever like sneezed on you too hard and gave you forest aids. The error margin during high fear runs in this game is very thin. You can't account for everything. Like, shit just happens sometimes. And in those instances, I would much rather have the safety net of persistence than the gradual slow burn effect of the Centaur. I mean, I'd rather have both. That's honestly the only good choice. You just build for both. It's not hard. Number 11, the Enchantress. Alright, so here's how you use this one. You can either alter minor rewards at the beginning of a new save to gather as much of the same material as early as you can, allowing you to speedrun any particular progression like Grasp, unlocking Arcana, or just a shitload of bones for the merchant back home, but you should be altering major rewards like boons instead, and it performs even better when paired with certain god-related keepsakes to give you a massive chance to snag a particular boon you're looking for as early as possible. Use it on mini-bosses since since they always give major rewards, and this is essentially how the game wants you to use this. Okay, now here's how you should actually use this. Take your favorite weapon, zero the Titan, do it enough times to unlock the upper half of the game, go to Ephira, pull up the bat map, whatever the fuck it's called, look for the god you want to select a boon from. In my case here, it's probably going to be Hera, since I'm using Moros torches right now, and that just feels like a comfy setup. Take care of all the Hera boons first, collect your shit, then start re-rolling once you've cleared them out. Land on Hera because gods who aren't visible on the Ephira map have a higher chance of showing up, and that is how you exercise hyper-dominant control over the game's boon pool like you're building a fucking terrarium. This is the easiest way to take a certain god and just thin out their boon selection so much that you're practically guaranteed a legendary before you even clear the city. Because re-rolling major doors follows incredibly strict rules, and every reward in Ephira is a major find. Its only other use is just material grinding. Using it in the morning fields is still comically awkward, and re-rolls as a general feature aren't too important until you start punching your way into the late game. Like, it really does only have one thing it's good at, but if you're going for Typhon with 30 plus fear, then as God is my witness, you are flat out just throwing the run by not having this on. Number 10, the Boatman. 300 gold per run is a little misleading because a lot of people might think, what's the point? Every run ends with you having 1,000 coins anyways, so why do I need 300? Bitch, you start with 300. You start with it. You don't need to play the whole, maybe I'll get this later game with yourself, because you can just buy that shit too. Your first Karen shop location is basically just a freebie. The higher cost does make me feel like my grasp is better spent elsewhere, but if I'm being completely honest, Origination is the only other place it would even go, so like, you might as well just throw it on if you're looking for another 5. That moon dust ain't cheap. The broker sells them for 80 bones a piece, but Karen's Crossroads shop also sells moon dust for 4 obol points. How do you get obol points? By emptying your pockets and buying his ass out at every possible opportunity. The only thing swaying my attention away from Boatman is its awkward positioning in relation to other cards on the grid. I would love to try and fit Boatman into a row or column sweep for an easy Divinity, but that means I would either have to brute force Queen or ditch Strength and use Death Defiance as a replacement. And I ain't doing that. Nah, I'm too proud of myself. Number 9, the Huntress. Really hope I'm not asking for it by having Huntress this far down, but it's honestly, it's not my fault the entire upper registry could be confused for cheat engine hacks. Huntress is good. It's really good. But it's also a balancing act. Sometimes it's better to just exhaust all your fumes at once and pull out every Omega you have on you, and other times it's better to properly pace things out and just survive the war of attrition. And if you're doing that, whatever regen boon you have on is probably going to catch up with you quite a bit. On a Moros build, Omega Attack into Omega Special is a classic strat that I will be using the second that shit's off cooldown, leaving almost no time for my magic to ever actually fully replenish to 100%, even with a good regen boon. And with aspects like Supai, where you can't even attack at all without digging into your magic reserve, the Huntress is very clearly going to be beneficial here. One Hestia regen boon later, and it can suddenly get very difficult to find times where you aren't at 100% magic. Any build that entails priming doesn't activate the Huntress effect, while also making a good regen boon even more important. It's still a great card to have because it makes downtime between Omegas feel less agonizing, and one good regen boon isn't gonna like hurt the card or anything, but when I'm close to finishing a run, I don't even look at my magic bar because I've built my core in a way where I can just assume it's at 100, and most of the time I'm correct. Because of this, I think the Huntress is far less likely to help you out the closer you get to the finish line, and that's when you're wanting all the extra damage you can get. Number 8, Champions. If this were the first game, then perhaps my opinion would be a little different, but as I've already stated like 19 times or whatever, building is meant to be much more precise and deliberate in this game. If you don't understand what makes a good build and what boons to grab versus what to ignore, you're gonna end up like one of those weird fuckers who uploads a video talking about how tanky everything is in the game when your damage actually just sucks cock. This is exactly why the Champions card is so valuable, because it gives you up to 4 chances to look someone dead in the face and just say, sorry, not interested, and they'll just rearrange their whole inventory for you and give you something else. Sometimes I'll do this and they end up giving you like an increased rarity variant of the boon that you skipped, which I think is really funny. You're just as likely to land on something that's total garbo, but that's part of the chance game. It helps way more than it ever hurts to have, and if it weren't for a select few other S tier cards on here, this would have a great shot at being a mainstay. Number 7, Wayward Son. So I think a lot of support cards are misunderstood because Hades is just one of those games where it's really easy to say whatever, just don't get hit forehead, and then use it as justification to run some of the stupidest builds possible. The function by itself is, honestly, it's not that impactful, but the convenience of a 1 grasp cost that offers this much support over time makes it incredibly hard to compete with. I'm like 90% sure this also works in a Furies chambers, so like if any optional doors open up after you've finished a pylon room, that's just going to be 5 more HP. This is expectedly less useful in biomes like the Morning Fields where there aren't as many chambers to go through, but it does half mitigate the damage from Chaos Gates if there's another keepsake you would rather have on, and it's one of the very few ways in the entire game that allows for consistent healing that doesn't involve boons, fountains, or hoping Karen left his half-eaten meatball sub in the store selection. It offers a lot of healing over to, like a lot, like multiple hundreds of healing in a single run, and that's always useful when you need it, but it isn't exactly hard to clear a normal chamber without taking, too much damage. Bosses, on the other hand, they slurp up that infernal ass like lasagna, and when you inevitably deal with the consequence of taking lots of damage in a single chamber, Wayward Son is... it's literally designed to not counteract it, so. Alright, number 6 and 5, Strength and Death. I can't decide, I'm ranking them both at the same time. Here they are, this is where they're at. If you had asked me my opinion on Strength back in early access, I probably would have just told you this is like another speedrunner tool that people are gonna try and say is S tier once the game's been out for a while, and that's wrong, that was a lie. When I first started playing, I never really fully understood the debate between Death and Strength because outside of the admittedly impressive damage mitigation, these two Arcana didn't really feel mutually exclusive. And I was very puzzled at why most discourse I saw about them in forums usually came with a heavy implication that they were. I am no longer puzzled at this discourse. I'm just gonna keep this 100%. If the thought of foregoing Death Defiances fills you with anxiety like it once did me, allow me to present to you the biggest trust me bro you're ever gonna hear about anything in this game. When fully upgraded, every single bit of damage from glancing blows and bullet hell butt crap to receiving a full frontal from the Greek mythos equivalent of an atom bomb. Just shave 40% of that shit right off. No more anxiety about getting 2-tapped on high fear runs. It stacks with Aphrodite's weak effects, healing amount isn't affected, making healing from any source twice as valuable, and it comes with its own all-purpose damage boost. And you know what? I still think I might prefer Death Defiance just a little bit more. Strength does a lot of things, and it does a lot of things very well. It is, by no mistake or misrepresentation, an S-tier ubiquitous pick. And maybe the reason a lot of players still don't understand the appeal is because the game goes so out of its way to support builds with Death Defiance way more for some reason. Narcissus can refill them, Echo can refill them, Athena can refill them and make them stronger, Skelemius and Moros each have keepsakes that give you their own unique Death Defiance, Chaos has a legendary boon related to it. You can just find these things in a fucking shop somewhere. Roll up to Athena's apartment in Olympus without the Death Arcana and the Defiance refills just won't even be an option. Like, that's just not a part of her selection if you don't choose Death. I want Strength to be better, but I still think Death is just way more bang for your buck because the game actually supports it with other mechanics, which makes me feel like these two Arcana may not compete with each other as much as people think. I mean, if you can't decide, then fuck it, just ditch Boatman and wear them both. Number 4, Persistence. 40 more health, 40 more magic. You like Omegas? Well, cast approximately 2 of them before you can't anymore. You like getting hit? Nah, sure you do, you fucking weirdo. Well, that's what the health is for. Take more damage, do more damage. As straightforward as it comes. Number 3, the Furies. I cannot believe this is worth 2 grasp. 30% more damage to whatever is caught in your cast, basic or omega. This is already a 30% uptick in damage from your omega cast anyway, since the bonus also includes the detonation, which is already something that a lot of higher cost cards can't even offer you. But the omega cast is also a staple component in some of the game's most psychotic builds. Furies is just one of those cards I would never even start a run without. It's a 2 cost and a significant damage bonus by literally just playing the game the way you're supposed to. Your casting placement doesn't even need to be that great. Like, it could be complete ass cheeks. Enemies still want a piece of you and will chase you to get that piece, likely winding them up in the cast radius anyways. Like, you have to actually put effort into completely missing a cast. It just doesn't happen by accident. Put it on, never take it off. That's my advice. Number 2, the Sorceress. Sorceress is one of those essential bonus effects purposed as a set of training wheels for newcomers, but it does its job so well, it has such a direct effect on the fluidity of gameplay that taking it off can actually flatline the fun you're having with the game. Like if this card got nerfed for any reason, I could realistically see review bombs happening. Just about all your highest damage sources either come from firing off Omegas, or they involve the use of Omega moves in some way to like set it up. The Omega specials on the Karanax and Moros torches, the Omega dash on the Nyx coat, the amount of boons that support Omega casting, like the sheer volume of them, and any forethought that would have been required to land some of the more complex Omegas just gets outright flushed by the Sorceress. It's something that doesn't even sound that necessary on paper, but there's really nothing else here that can beat it for one grasp. 3 and 4 cost cards don't do this much. Throwing out your Omegas consistently is the key to winning runs in the game, regardless of fear level, regardless of weapon aspect. You might be able to get away with standard attacks and specials for a while, and you may even finish a run or two. But if you're not taking time to practice Omegas and learn how they impact a fight, a plateau is waiting for you, and it will ruin the fun you have with this game. I'm actually being like dead serious. Like, don't fall into bad habits here. Once you learn the importance of using all your Omegas, the impact of shaving off over a third of your wind-up time with one grasp, it really puts into perspective just how stupid this is. Like, the difference in fluidity is night and day. It's not even that, it's Earth and fucking Mars. Number 1, Origination. Okay, so just a quick clarification about what curse effects are, because I've seen a couple players skip out on this card because they think curse effects are just way more complicated than they really are. But like, curse effects are just a fancy word for status. Like Demeter's Chill, Aphrodite's Weak, Apollo's Daze, Hestia's Scorch, Poseidon's Froth, even Artemis's Mark, all considered curse effects. Applying 2 of these at a time is, I mean, it's not hard, but it's also like not easy. It's below easy. It's like subconscious. You probably inflict multiple curse effects like 100 times a run without ever realizing it or even thinking about it. All you need are boons from 2 separate gods that have their own status attached to it. And with some gods, you don't even need to look for it. You just get that shit on rip with the keepsake. Like Ares and Demeter just have curses attached to all their core boons. You just need 2. That's it. That's all you need. Okay, you done? Cool. Now here's 63 extra damage on top of everything you did, and it's still 50 without Circe's Arcana buff. No strings attached. Here's the source code and trademark info while I'm at it. Have fun! This Arcana is unapologetically in a league of its own. There is not any situation, no single build where you shouldn't have this on. Large groups, armored mini-boss chambers, guardian chambers with large groups, you can trip over your own ankles and fall into a build that deals 2 curse effects within like the first like 5 chambers. And that is all that's ever necessary to fully reap the benefits from this Arcana. It's a 5-cost card. I don't fucking care. Once you pass a certain point, I feel like agonizing over the cost is just, it's gonna waste your time. The damage bonus gap between this and any other card available is so terrifyingly wide that even looking at the cost at all is just like, you're already making a mistake. And what's weird is, I still think some Arcana in the top 5 could potentially be, quote, like better or just more efficient in certain parts of the game. Like if I was forced to choose between this and Death, I would probably go with Death. But Origination was the only Arcana where I actually tried to take it off for something else. And every time I reread its description, I was just like, yeah, no, that's totally saying where it is. Origination is the ultimate Yu-Gi-Oh! Polymerization of insane damage, brain-off activation requirements, and complete and total absence of consequence. It is a universal constant, a scientific law. Starting a run in this game should require you to take out this card and show it to someone like a fucking Costco membership.